Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Paterson, and again, for something slightly different, my DPhil looks at stigma associated with infectious disease outbreaks. I'm supervised by Mandy Rojic, Ashley Cheen, Nina Gobet, and Pierre Aliaro. So outbreaks precipitate stigma for a range of reasons. The diseases are often novel, they're often highly infectious, and some of them are prone to moralization. The communities that are affected are often isolated and are often already experiencing intersectional discrimination. And the response measures are often stigmatizing in themselves, such as isolation or contact tracing. In return, stigmatization can often exacerbate outbreaks by making almost every pillar of outbreak response a lot harder. So what we typically find is in each outbreak as it happens, increasingly stigma is recognized as important in that outbreak, and the assessment of that stigma becomes important. And so what you get is a range of different stigma scales or instruments that are brought about to measure stigma in each outbreak. And so I did a systematic review, as all of the other DPhil here, when I started this, and found that there were 102 different stigma scales that looked at acute infectious disease outbreak stigma and aimed to measure this. There are a range of issues with these stigma scales, however, and just to highlight two, the first is that scale development takes time. And so we found that there was a median of 25 months between the first case of an outbreak and the publication of a stigma scale. This means we're not measuring stigma often in an outbreak at all, or if we are, we're measuring it early in we're not measuring it early in the course of an outbreak where it might actually be the worst, or we're measuring it in a poorly validated way. The second issue is that 84% of these scales, after they've gone through that very long development process, are only used once. And despite this, when we analyzed the content of these different stigma scales, they were strikingly similar in a lot of ways. And so we are trying to challenge that siloed approach and look if we can develop a cross-outbreak stigma scale, which can then be readily adopted and adapted for different outbreak settings as part of pandemic preparedness. So on the left, you can see the methods that I'm going to be using to do that. And on the right, the potential benefits of a cross-outbreak stigma scale. And just to highlight the three communities that we're working with to develop and validate the scale initially are those affected by Mpox in the UK, Ebola in Uganda, and Nipah in Bangladesh. And if anyone's interested in this work, I'd love to speak at lunch. Thanks.